Cool. That actually kind of helped, and I want to still try to keep all this on the same video because I can cut it up. I'm going to cut it up later. So just so you guys know, there's going to be basically like little bits and parts as we go through here. And these little bits and parts, I'm going to cut them up and stick them inside of the training modules inside of schoolofshark.net. So just to remind you guys, go to schoolofshark.net. You can sign up for free. There's nothing else but giving your email address to sign up for free. And there's no funnel in there. So basically you just go in there, and each of these, after every single day, we've got like 5 trainings up there now, but we're going to continue to cut these up. So this will be like the very beginning was like a little part about the history of marketing. This part was more about a lead magnet. So we talked about all the lead magnet stuff. We talked a little bit about copywriting. We didn't really get into email marketing yet, which I think we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But today we're just, again, we're in the intermediate. You know, today we're in the intermediate part. Also too, I need to get with Chase and find out if tomorrow, if Friday or Saturday is going to work best for him. Him and I have a big webinar tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. But after the webinar, I'm going to try to convince him to not come on live. We'll come on live, and we'll give you guys an invite to a webinar where you can register, get on there, or even tonight I might even send out messages letting you guys know that you can register for the training where we do this case study, $700,000 case study, and growing. In fact, the webinar we're doing before then is that part of and growing, and we're going to divulge everything. This is stuff that JVs would love to get their hands on because they need to know this. And I believe that this system that we use, that we created, it was amazing for one, but the system we created, I believe that anybody in the JV world, the ones that are big and the ones that are doing really well and have big lists and have all the connections already, if they just model the stuff that we did, they could have easily 7-figure launches. And we're working towards our first 7-figure launch, but it's more of a launch with a back end because the product is so solid. So you guys will get a chance to learn on that. I'm gonna try to convince Chase. Hopefully, if you're live, Chase, I'm letting you know, man, I'm coming after you. I want you to get back to me, and either way, I'll hit you up tonight after this call. But basically, I want to have this done. We've been working on this for a while. I actually am part of a mastermind that was in Vegas not too long ago, and at that mastermind, I actually divulged it all to everybody, and they all loved it. So it's a very cool, very more advanced. That's why I said it needs to be on an advanced day. But it's like that launch funnel I showed you, but on steroids. Okay, it's on steroids. And remember, like last time, yesterday, I talked a little bit about that. Is like, hey guys, don't be overwhelmed by looking at how all this stuff is. The fact is that you just have to take action to start doing it and start building it. And yeah, it's going to be hard at first. It's like, you know, when you were a kid and you were trying to learn how to ride a bike, okay, was it easy to ride a bike the first time? No, you fell over, you skinned your legs, but you know what? You got back up and you got back on that bicycle and you started pedaling forward again. So that's the same thing with this business or anything new in life, is that usually it's not hard, it's just I don't know how. So once you know how to do something, then it's not hard. It becomes this thing where you have those 4 levels of consciousness, but that unconscious competence is where you want it to go, because that's where you can start becoming creative. You can start becoming really creative with things. You can start tweaking things that maybe you never thought of, or maybe that someone else hasn't exactly thought of and shared yet, or they have thought of it, but they're keeping it to themselves. So those are some of the little insights. Again, I like giving you guys insights and getting inside my mind when it comes to this training. So let's talk about what's next. We'll talk about the webinar funnel, because the webinar funnel is very similar to this, okay? So back in the day, GoToWebinar, by the way, and I can't say that I hate GoToWebinar, I love it, but it's like really old and clunky in a way, okay? Even though they're upgrading and they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and probably there's other companies that are coming up that are gonna definitely give them a run for their money, but I have a feeling that they probably already have technology that's going to be better. They're just waiting for someone else to come up and actually start nudging them a little bit so they can actually release it. It's like that old saying, if it ain't broke, why fix it? So who knows? Who knows what that industry is going to happen, but there's definitely some up and coming companies that are going to put pressure on it, but it's also becoming a much more competitive industry. So we'll see. We will see how that plays out. We can watch it though, right? So now that we're all conscious of that, we can watch it and we can find out like what can we learn by if another major player webinar platform comes and takes over. I know like Webinar Jam, they definitely gave gave them a run for their money, but they definitely, in no spectrum or way, did they get rid of them, because people still are relying on it because they're so used to it, right? They're just so used to getting onto a GoToWebinar sales page. So the GoToWebinar, shouldn't say sales page, but opt-in page, they have this really old, might have to use another marker. I've written so much, my marker's going out. Okay, so let's go to this marker. Hopefully you guys can see a nice bright blue. So they had the page, it's actually about this size, and it had like name, phone number, email, headline, and maybe some bullet points that you could open up to make the page bigger. And that was it. But guess what? That was getting the ugly opt-in sheet was getting a higher opt-in rate than other things that we would see out there. But then, marketers are creative, right? Marketers, what's his name? Gary Vaynerchuk says marketers F things up, right? They always F things up, but they make them better, and then everybody exploits it because then they can't keep their mouth shut about how great it's working, and then everybody exploits it. Or it's not that they can't keep their mouth shut, everybody can see. That's in the marketing world, they can see what they're doing, and then they model after it because they can see that company's having success. So that's it, right? You got to model other people's success. And don't try to be so inventive either, because something that you see and you might think that it's going to work, you're like, wow, this is it. I know this is going to be it. You're telling yourself, you're having all this fulfilling prophecies in a sense. You think that you're going to see something that's going to be amazing, which is great to be positive. I'm not saying not to be positive, but it doesn't mean that it's going to work. Okay. So you got to find out what is working, and don't worry about being inventive. Go and look at how can I legally copy someone else with my own stuff? Like, how can I legally model after somebody else that's proven and it's working? So that's going back to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you could do the same thing with your webinar funnels. You can do a ugly one here. Then you could say, okay, let me see how creative I am, or let me see how Anthony Morrison, he's got a really good opt-in webinar page. Sorry, Anthony, for giving out your secret, but you could go look at his and model after. I know I looked at it and I was like, well, how can I model after his? Because I know it's working. Well, I was looking at his, he has like a free book offer. So instead of having this ugly form, he's saying, hey, join our webinar. We're going to give you tons of value on how to create a list. Because he's really big at list building. And then he's like, by the way, get my free book. All you need to do is just sign up, and there's no obligation, or something like that. And then I think he has an exit pop, so it pops in there. And then from there, he's getting his free book. And then on the thank you page, it has the download for his book. And then it has a thank you video. Okay. And then on this video, he's actually himself. He's on there and he's telling you, hey, you got to join the webinar. He's selling you on why you need to join the webinar. He's telling you, these are the results I'm getting. You can get results like this. I can show you how it's duplicatable. I can show you how to optimize your pages. I can show you how to optimize your messages. I can show you how to build a huge list. And I'm going to be sharing this to a small group of people. I only have room for 1,000 people. So he's creating that scarcity, right? He's creating that scarcity on the page. I think there might even be a countdown timer in here. Right? I'm just kind of telling you, this is just stuff that you can model after. There's a lot of people out there doing it. In fact, do yourself a favor, even though you're going to get remarketed when you do this, but start thinking like a marketer. As marketers, we love getting remarketed. I mean, sometimes it's a hate and love relationship, right? Because as a salesperson and as a marketer, I'm also a big time buyer. So it's perfect that if they're marketing to me and targeting me, but then at the same time, I'm going to click and I'm going to actually reverse engineer what they're doing. This is actually also something that I know Russell Brunson teaches a lot, is reverse engineering other people's proven tactics of what is working for them. So that's what I would do. I would actually go and as a marketer, I would sign up for everybody's emails that I possibly can. But remember, when you're doing this, remember to remind yourself, if you have that shiny object syndrome, and I have it too, trust me, I have it. I have tons and tons of software, of copywriting stuff, of all the stuff that I'm interested in. And let me tell you the other thing that I do, even though I have that shiny object syndrome, I also do it with a purpose. So if I'm going to buy it, just like Chris Record, just like Russell Brunson, just like Ty Lopez, just like any Anthony Morrison, and just like any of these great marketers that we have out there, when they buy something, they buy it to use it because they want an immediate return of investment. So you got to do the same thing. I'm not telling you to buy it and then sit on it and let that software collect dust. I'm telling you to do it and then keep an inventory somewhere where you can actually see what all the stuff you own. And then you could think about, how could I use this software? Immediately, what I like to do is, if I'm going to buy a piece of software, I immediately want to dive in deep and dig into it. Now, I've gotten myself into a position as a JV broker, and I'm getting more known in the industry, that a lot of people just give me their software. They're like, hey, can you check my software out and let me know what you think? Because they're hoping that I'm going to promote it, but usually they'll just give me their software, and that's kind of cool. But it's also very disruptive and distractive for me, right? Because there's a lot of distractions we have in life. We have to learn how to tune out the wrong ones and tune in the right ones. So it kind of just depends, but it's also kind of a fun thing that I get to do in my life as well. I was looking outside, I saw something weird, but it's kind of a fun thing too, because I have such a passion for software that I want to learn, like, why is this marketer coming out with this linking software? Why is this marketer coming out with this pixel software that's really cool, like has better pixel, or helps you, place a better pixel on your site or whatever. Why is this marketer coming out with this page builder that's ultra fast, and how are they doing it? So every single time I'm learning something. I'm never not learning something. I'm always learning, why are they doing it? So that's what I'm telling you guys to do as marketers, is if you want to crush it on the online world, you got to find out who the leaders are, and you got to find out what are they doing and how are they doing it. Once you can find that stuff out, then you can start building out your own messages. You can start building out maybe your own software. You can start crushing it on your e-com stores. You can start doing anything you want, because the oyster does become your world. And then you could start learning you could hire people for traffic. And then while you hire people for traffic, you can go in there and start learning it yourself, especially if it's something that you're passionate about and you feel that it would actually save you time by you knowing exactly how it works. You can understand the principles and the concepts and stuff like that, but also maybe you want to know the hands-on stuff, because like I said earlier, that if you don't know something, it's not that it's hard, it's just that you don't know how. So once you learn, then you know how. So then you can actually give out and learn. You can actually teach other people how to do it. You could start a local forum and start teaching people on a local space with like meetups and stuff like that. There is so many ways to get in contact with people, but this business and this life and this world and this knowledge and everything is a contact sport. You got to look at it as a contact sport. So even if I don't do business with you, but I touched you somewhere, it's a contact sport, because you might actually tell someone else, that person might tell someone else, and that word of advertising is the cheapest, best advertising your business could ever have, regardless if you're local or online or offline. It doesn't really matter, okay? All right, so I hope you guys got the webinar funnel. It's basically the same thing. It's a lead capture page that you can tweak, and you can figure out, you could try and test different things. Maybe you could do it at 100 clicks. Maybe you want to test at 1,000 clicks. Sometimes 1,000 clicks might be a little bit better for you to get better, harder analytics than 100 clicks. But typically, 100 clicks is going to tell you, it just depends if they're like true clicks. The one thing you need to look for too is bounces. So you may want to say, instead of 100, you might want to do like 135 clicks. So that way you can get, you're going to have some bounces. What bounces are, if you don't know, it's where, and you've probably done this before, not consciously, and believe it or not, Google actually looks at this because they feel like, oh, your information wasn't important enough. So it can hurt your SEO rates if you have too much bouncing. But basically what it is like, say this is your page, or it's like a wall, okay? And you're coming in to go into that page, okay? You're going through either an email or you're going through an online ad or Facebook or whatever, and you hit that page and then you back out. Okay, so you just hit it and you back out. That's a bounce. So basically you're not looking at the information, nothing grabbed you on that information. And some bounces could be legitimately, or you just ended the page as soon as it opened. Some bounces could be legitimately like, oh, I got disrupted, or I got distracted, I'm at work, I gotta go, or whatever the case may be. But sometimes it's just people that go, nope, what am I doing? Nope, what am I doing? Okay, so if that happens too much, it can actually hurt your page. There's software out there that tricks that. If they go back, that actually takes them to another page. I've seen that for WordPress, but don't really worry about that too much. I'm just telling you that you want to have good analytics for your conversion rate so you can figure out what you're doing. The only tweaks you can do on anything is sales copy, headlines, if you're not good at it, it's something that I struggle with. There's software out there you can get. You can hire people. There's a guy named Colin Terror. He has called the Cult of Copy, which is a Facebook fan page. I would recommend, if you're not a part of it, go be a part of it. You can join for free, and you can learn. You can hire people. They have like a job board one where you can actually go, hey, I'm looking for a low-cost copywriter for my e-com store. I'm looking for a low-cost copywriter for my lead magnet, whatever it might be. And you can hire some really good copywriters out there for a low price, and they'll probably interview you for a second and then quickly snap out some copy to you. So that's something you can do, different ways to tweak it. The other thing you can tweak, like I said, is traffic itself, and then the offer. So what's the offer? So what am I giving away for free? And then, like I said, the funnel, then you can put them into a funnel later on once you get them to know, like, and trust you. Now, one thing I will say that probably has a lot more value than anything is free training. Those of you guys that are live, I mean, everybody so far that has a free training online has said that they've totally loved the free training and that they like it. That's why, you know, like I said, if you feel like I'm giving you guys good value here, love it, like it, share it, make sure you do it, because we're trying to get more people. We're trying to help more people in the industry. So if you're about helping people and you think that this is good, valuable information worth sharing, then share it, go for it. So yeah, the copy. And so anyways, I'm saying is that the free training, so you could build a training site pretty quickly. And I'll tell you guys another thing too, okay? When I got started in this industry, I understood the funnel, right? Remember earlier we were talking about like the free line on there. So the free line, I understood that. And being that my background was in insurance, and I trained and hired and fired probably 1,000 people in my industry, basically out of those people, a small percentage ever made it. Well, I felt like a lot of that was because of training. So 20 to 40% of them I felt like were missing the boat because they weren't trained right. So that's why I built a website. So my way of getting out of my current industry, even though that industry was paying for me to get into this industry full time, even though I was dabbling in on a part-time basis, you have to have money. You have to make enough money to jump into here. You can still learn, you know, if you have a regular job, you can still spend your nights, weekends, whatever you want to be a hustler, which I recommend. As entrepreneurs, we're hustlers. I'm working at 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes, waking up at 9 o'clock, sometimes a little bit later, just depends, but I have the freedom to do it. But before I was able to do it, I didn't have the freedom to do it. When I first got started in the insurance industry, I was working 100 hours, 80 to 100 hours a week, because I was just immersing myself into that business, and I had people that were relying on me. So I had a schedule. And my old boss, which is very true, a great leader, he used to say, what doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. And I got away from a schedule. Now I'm actually getting myself back into a schedule because of all the traveling I'm doing. Now it's like I have to have a schedule. So basically you start your day at 7 and you end it at 10, let's say, and you have to go to work for so many hours per day. Well, between that time and that time you're working, and then from this time you give yourself blocks of time that you can start digesting the knowledge if you have to do it part-time. But like me, what I did is I said, know what? I'm starting to make enough money in this industry. In insurance, it has reoccurring money. And I was building an agency, and I have agencies, owners that come to me for contracts. So they have contracts, they manage their team, and I just provide them with tools. If they need leads, I have lead systems. If they need CRM, I have a CRM software that I built, and they can have access to it. And I have an online training course. So that online training course gives them the whole sales presentation. It teaches them how to work leads correctly. It has scripts, it has objection handling, it has everything, your booklet that you make, that you come into a home with, everything you need to sell that type of insurance. And so because I knew that information, and I believe that a lot of you have some kind of information in you that you could get out and you could teach other people, you could just copy my model, okay? All I did was I took and I built the freemium level, and I didn't even really go into a back end for the most part, but I actually just had this free course, which was like a 5 days of training. Okay, this free course, 5 days of training, lands on a landing page. I've done a little bit of A and B split testing with it. Not a lot. And you know why? Because I'm just not really passionate in that industry anymore. But I can tell you that the information is like gold for the people that do get into it. So they get in there for 5 days. The 5 days of training is amazing. And in fact, part of the stuff that's in here that's lighting me up. I had like 3 of these soft boxes. I had the 1 camera. I had like an older, like not very good thing. I had a green screen behind me. I had we did it on Sony, some kind of Sony editing software that was horrible. So the videos look a little dated when you watch them. It's funny because I'm a lot skinnier too, but they look a little bit dated, but it's cool. And I'm a little bit cheesy on them and stuff like that, but it's really cool because I've had an immense amount of people. If you go in there and you see like the forum of people in there, there's like tons of people saying, thank you for this value. This is so much awesome. I do this whole thing on like mindset. I do this whole thing on like how to reverse engineer numbers, how much money you need to make to hit your dream. You know, I do so much on it. It's the free training itself is so worth it, so much information that people, when they go to buy, and actually kind of like hit the buy button. And so, and it's also too, it's like a webinar that I recorded in like 2012 or something like that, 2013. So it's old when they go there, but when they go there, it's funny because they're like, I get emails, I can't find your buy button. I'm like, okay, here you go. Here's the buy button. They're like, thanks. So they go and they buy into it. So we make $6,000 a year continuity from that. New people sign up every single month. Some people fall off after 4 months. Some people have been there since day one. They're still paying. I think I started at like 15 bucks a month. Now it's 17. We might even raise it up to 19 here pretty soon. But it's the funny thing is that I just took these same principles I just showed you guys and I applied them into my own industry where I already knew how to make money, but I was kind of bored with. But I had all this knowledge that I wanted to give back. So you could do the same thing. Say you're a mechanic, say you're a restaurant owner, say you're a waiter. Okay, you could have a waiter free training on how to be the ultimate waiter to make the most money in tips. And you could teach little tips and tactics on how to do that. And you could actually start making continuity immediately by doing little things like this. You might have a goal that you might have 5 or 6 different things you could do. You could build 5 or 6 different training modules, and you could put them up on Udemy. You could put them up on Smart Member. You could put them up on Lynda. There's a bunch of different platforms out there that you could stick your free training on and start making money immediately. And they'll actually start giving you traffic to your show, and you'll start be able to make money without even having to push traffic to it. Or you could leverage it and actually learn how to build the site and everything. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. But that, again, it's just what I did to get myself in the shoes and get myself ready to actually really immerse myself into this industry. And that's the kind of stuff that we'll get into a little bit more on the technical stuff, and definitely on that webinar. There's that webinar too, by the way. I just want you guys to know the webinar we're not selling anything on the webinar. So first off, don't go there to buy anything because we're not going there to sell anything. One thing I'm finding interesting is that I'm giving you guys, and I'm gonna let you guys know this, I'm giving everybody tons of free value by going on live with Facebook, not asking for anything in return. I get more people that wanna buy stuff from me than want my free stuff. My free stuff is gold. I almost don't even understand it, which is funny. But for those of you that are listening, thanks for being a part of it. I'm going to keep doing these no matter what, so hopefully we'll organically start growing these up. But this is like we're calling it Shark Week, and then after Shark Week, we're going to do things called Shark Bites. So Shark Bites will be basically like little bits and pieces of like stuff from my traveling. It'll be stuff from, I just went to an event, learned something new, I want to share it with you. So stuff like that, kind of just depends. Now, do you guys have any questions about this before I erase the board and go on to the next thing? Any questions? Let me know. Hit me up real quickly if you guys have any questions.